So, as you all may know, my name is David Greek. I'm with VPP Texas, and we actually have my dad here joining us today, and we're just gonna talk about his experiences with generators, batteries, solar. You got a crazy experience with all of those, and so we'll just go over them if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
So you were saying your stuff is a lot older than the stuff we're using right now with the virtual power plants.
Yeah, my experience started 30 years ago with solar panels and batteries and generators.
What was your first solar panel battery generator experience?
Well, my first experience was with, I think, about 6 80-watt panels and a backup propane generator. It was called a Jenny DC. It was a Honda engine that had a propane inversion kit on it, and that's what we used when we didn't, have enough sun. Obviously, with that few solar panels, we were very limited in what we could run, but we did it, and it wasn't hard.
Did you run that generator on diesel or propane normally?
So that original generator either ran on gasoline, or if you got the propane conversion kit, it ran strictly on propane.
Okay.
And that was a mistake, as it turned out in the long run, because the propane conversion kit for that actually voids the warranty on the Honda engine. Propane tends to burn exceptionally hot in those kinds of engines, and it caused problems sooner than it should have.
What kind of problems?
The engine burned out after about, I want to say 1,500 or 2,000 hours.
So how many generators do you think you've been through at this point?
Well, I went through that that Honda engine with a propane conversion kit. Mm-hmm. Then I changed that to a small diesel, single cylinder diesel generator. It was kind of designed to run for agricultural purposes, for pumping water.
Okay.
And we used that diesel generator. The guy who put it in for me said he'd never seen one fail. And mine failed not too long after I started using it.
Oh, no. And what was the point of failure for that one?
A belt broke on it.
Okay.
And caused a lot of other problems.
So you've really, oh man, what was the number on how many generators though? If you had to add them up?
Well, I mean, it would have been 3 because I used one more after that.
Okay. Okay.
And that was just, I think, a straight Honda engine running off of gasoline.
Okay. Okay. And you've also built your own battery banks to work with solar. How did that work?
Well, years ago, about the best thing you could do, or really the most practical thing you could do, was build a battery bank out of what is the equivalent of a golf cart battery.
Okay.
And
what does that mean, equivalent of a golf cart battery?
I mean, they're golf cart batteries.
Literally a golf cart battery?
Literally a golf cart battery. But, instead of charging up your golf cart, you have them, lined up in parallel or series. Mm-hmm. And, we had ours in series 24-volt system. Okay. And I believe we had 12 batteries. And, it's a lot of work. You got to maintain water levels in them and make sure they don't get low on water, and make sure that they get extra charge occasionally, and a lot of work to stay on top of it.
So since you've had both homemade lead acid battery banks wired in series out of golf cart batteries and multiple different types of generators, which would you say took less maintenance or was just easier to deal with? I guess for you though, you really needed both in your system.
We needed both because when things were going well, we were running off the batteries. Mm-hmm. But when bad weather, prolonged cloudiness, you needed the backup generator. The backup generator actually charged the batteries.
Okay.
So it didn't actually charge the house. It charged up the batteries when we needed a charge in the batteries.
So if I remember correctly, it was like a Times article in like 2013, and it was saying people are starting just then to use solar and batteries in like 2013. And you made this system in like 1999. So you're like 14 years ahead of your time, ahead of the article saying that people are starting to do it.
Well, I don't know that I could take credit for that. I really relied on the expertise of other people.
Yeah.
I guess I was either brave enough or stupid enough to try it. But it served our family well for, almost 20 years.
Wow.
And like I say, a lot of work. Made lots of mistakes, would do things differently, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Love it. So you had 80-watt panels. Panels now are like 440 watts, as I'm sure you're aware. How did you get those panels? Were they expensive?
Oh yeah, I mean big time. When we first bought those 80-watt panels, I think we paid $5 a watt for those panels. And several years later, we were able to upgrade it to, I think, 180-watt panels. Mm-hmm. And I got 6 or 8 of those.
Okay.
At that time, solar panels had gone down quite a bit. They weren't as cheap as they are now, but I want to say I paid $2 to $3 a watt for those.
Okay. Yeah, right now they've gone down to probably like 80 cents a watt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot more practical.
Yeah, it's just battery backup is kind of still the weak link in the chain. If I remember correctly, that's what you told me back in the day as well.
I always said that battery was the weak link in that, kind of home generation power.
Yeah.
And, expected over time that part would improve.
Yeah.
It has, but I still think it's the weak link.
Before we jump into that, so with the virtual power plants, do you think that's something that would have, like if somebody is looking for a battery backup or solar system, like kind of making their own, buying their own like you did, versus a virtual power plant, just kind of curious, what do you think the pros and the cons are of each?
I don't know that I would have any pros for the way I was doing it compared to what you're doing with VPP Texas.
Really? How come?
Well, I mean, to set up your own system, it takes money.
Yeah.
I mean, even with solar panels as cheap as they are, batteries aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Inverters aren't cheap. I don't know if they still have them or not, but we had an item called a charge controller in there. None of that stuff's cheap. And I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. I helped someone back home in Missouri, not just this past year, put in a complete system in his home. We're talking $50,000.
Wow.
And I think I could have the same thing with your company for nothing. It doesn't cost me any out-of-pocket expense, and I have the same capability.
Yeah.
So I can't think of any positives that would outweigh that.
Yeah, that's what we've been seeing as well. So with generators, kind of looking at generators versus batteries, or not even versus, just your experience with generators, all of these were carbureted, right? Have you ever had like a fuel injected generator?
I have not. The unfortunate thing about generators is that you have to have a power source. You have to have propane, you have to have natural gas, you have to have gasoline, you have to have diesel. And, in the worst of circumstances, you might not be able to have access to that. Or as a minimum, it's it's a hassle.
Yeah. So count through all the generators you've had, and what happened to it.
Well, again, the first generator I had was, I don't remember what kind of Honda engine it was, but it was a good quality engine. Honda's the best that they make. It was designed to turn a belt and run a 12 volt alternator.
Okay.
It had a propane conversion kit on it. That way I didn't have to store gasoline.
Because you had a huge propane tank.
I could have, yes, I had a 1,000-gallon propane tank, and I had it piped to the generator, and that's a lot more convenient for me than having to go get gasoline. Gasoline doesn't store well, propane does. So I thought that it made sense to have a propane conversion kit on it.
Yeah.
I found out after the engine, overheated, that, I took the engine to a Honda, not a dealer, but a guy who did industrial work on Honda engines. He just fixed Honda engines. He said that it voids the warranty when you put propane conversion kits on it, because they heat so hot that, they don't warranty it. So I was disappointed to hear that. I got over 1,000 hours out of it, but I should have gotten over 5,000 out of it.
Wow. How long were the warranties on these? You said it voided the warranty. How long would the warranty have lasted, ideally?
Don't know.
No.
Don't remember.
Huh. All right, and then generator number 2.
Generator number 2 was a diesel engine, kind of an unusual diesel engine, that it was a single cylinder agricultural diesel generator. It was something that I think the military stocked at one point.
Okay.
To pump water or something like that. And the guy who put it in for me was somebody who very experienced with solar and generators and stuff. He had never had a problem with them, but and was sure it would do me well, but it did not last very long. No. Belt on it broke, and it overheated, water, and it was a mess. At that point, I ended up going back to a Honda gasoline engine. Yep,
that was the final generator.
And just pouring gasoline 1 gallon at a time into it. And that's what I left it with when we sold the house.
How much gas would that thing burn?
Oh man, you are testing my memory. I want to say, it only held a gallon. If I recall correctly, it might have been 2 gallons. It would run long enough to charge up the batteries full. I want to say 6 hours, but I'm not sure of that.
Okay.
It's not like you could put a tank in and not have to fill the tank one day and not have to go back for a week or something. It was something that you would have to. If you ran it every day, you'd have to fill it up every day for sure.
Whenever there would be a power outage and you would have to go out and fill the generators, what were typical situations where that would happen when you'd have to go out, and walk me through what that looked like?
Well, I don't know that it would be this way for everybody, but we had a detached garage / shop. Mm-hmm. I had my battery bank, my power system in a walled off room in that shop / garage. My generator sat outside of that room and was ventilated outside. And it was a good 100 feet or more, wouldn't you say? 100, 150 feet from the house. The weather's not terrible, but problems tend to happen when you least want them to, Murphy's Law. And you'd have to go out there in the dark of night or the dead of winter or in a storm to, figure out what went wrong and get it back running,
Yeah, I remember
fuel back up.
we'd all be hanging out, and then just the lights would go out, and then you just start suiting up. You like start getting on your jacket and your boots, and like you had to make the trek out to the garage to get the generator going.
Praying that Dad can figure it out.
Yeah, hoping it works this time. Did neighbors complain at all?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Because, you know, we had nobody within sight of us. And, I mean, we were in a rural environment, not even hooked up to the grid. And our closest neighbor, as the crow flew, maybe a quarter mile.
Okay.
And I was shocked to find out that they weren't happy
No way.
with us when we ran our generator. We did have complaints.
From a quarter mile away with the generator.
Yeah. Yeah. I was flabbergasted, but they said they could always tell when we were running the generator and wanted to know if there was anything I could do about it.
Walk me through the whole process to actually get the generators, set them up. I guess you had to dig holes.
Well, you know, when I added that second set of solar panels to our original set, I had to build a hole that was like 6 foot deep and 3 foot in diameter at the bottom. It tapered up a little bit. And this is in Missouri, and I tell you, they got some rocks there. I think back about that, and I don't know how I did it. I mean, this was, you know, work on it a couple hours a day, and digging the hole and putting the pole in, you know, mixing concrete, pouring a little bit, you know, coming up with. Not only did it go down that deep, but it came. The pedestal I built was made out of a 55-gallon barrel, which was above the ground, to support this thing.
This was your solar ground mount.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a major undertaking for me with the tools that I had or / didn't have, and yeah, that took a long time.
Yeah, we just did it with a standard post digger
and rock breakers and
yeah,
climbing in the hole and digging it out, and I still can't believe that I did that.
And then you had to trench.
Had to trench to you know, to bury the line from there to the power center. Did that by hand.
Let's restart real quick and rephrase it so you can start listening. So a lot of people prefer or ask us about ground mounts. What did it take you to do a ground mount?
It's great.
Just list all that out.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask us about ground mounts. They want to get a solar system, but they want it ground mounted.
They don't want it on their roof, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the ground mount process like for you?
I wouldn't do it again. It was, you know, I lived in the country and I didn't have codes to worry about, but it just is a tremendous amount of work. And yeah, I put it on my roof. I wouldn't. It's a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of work, or, you know, paying someone to do it's not going to be cheap.
You actually had a really great roof, south-facing roof.
I did.
How long did it take to actually make the hole that deep? What happened? How if you stood in it, how high would it go on you?
I mean, it would, you know, it'd come up to my neck or higher.
Wow, the hole to make the ground mount.
Yeah, and we're talking. This thing had a huge wingspan, and that's what it said it needed to do for that size pole. Basically, the specs for that hole came from the people who designed the rack to hold the panels. You know, it had to be so deep, had to be so wide, and like I say, I added to it on top too, just to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you had to trench from that hole to the garage.
To the garage / power center, and I don't know, that was another 100, 150 feet, and got to run wire. You know, you lose some of that electricity in the process you're producing. So.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember we had some like tornado alerts, some tornadoes in the area, really crazy windy conditions. Did you ever deal with the solar panels having issues with that over 20 years of like crazy weather?
I never had a problem with it, but we certainly had heavy winds.
Oh yeah, I remember there'd be trees down all over the.
Would worry about it.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate enough to where that didn't happen.
Okay. So over your whole time of having panels, what about hail? Did hail ever damage them?
We certainly had hail, and we never had hail damage.
And they never blew away?
Never blew away. No, they're...
Just a whole lot of replacing generators.
Yeah.
Maybe ask about the maintenance or the routine. I guess we adjusted them, the ground mounts every months or something.
So compare maintenance to the solar versus maintenance to generators. And honestly, maintenance to the batteries.
Well, you know, I had what nowadays would be considered a more limited size solar array, even with the two together, the 80 watts and the 180s combined together.
Yeah. Yeah, your system was about like 10 to 15% in size of the average system we do now.
What was the total KW?
Total KW, you had 6 80 kilowatt panels and then 6 150 kilowatt panels. So our smallest system that we're allowed to do is 8.2 kilowatts.
Okay, well that tells
crazy
you something.
Yeah, and the biggest was 25, so more than, I mean, it's 15 times more.
Right. But so what I'm doing with my solar panel, I had the capability of changing the angle of the rack. So I didn't usually do it as often as I should have, but you know, ideally you would go out every month and, you know, adjust it a notch to get the most out of the sun that you could.
Yeah, I remember we'd go out there with a ladder and you'd check for wasps.
Yes.
You'd have to spray the wasps and get rid of them, and then you could go in and adjust the panel.
Yeah, the wasps were the big hassle, you're right, in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we jump back into it, of panel maintenance versus generator maintenance, like how much maintenance was required on each?
I would say very limited. You know, I'm changing the angle of them. I assume that that's not something that you do with your systems. You have enough panels on there where you don't have to. It's not really something that most people would do anyways, because it's just something you got to remember to do, and it's a bit of a hassle. For me, it didn't take that much time besides the wasps. I guess in the winter where we are, there were a time or two that I had to try to get the snow off of them.
Yep.
You know, I guess they can collect dust.
Yep.
And they will run better if you get that off of them. But generally speaking, very limited on the solar panels.
Okay.
My batteries were something that I had to watch closely, because if you had one, you know, have 12 batteries, if I have one weak battery in the system, your system is only as strong as your weakest battery.
Really?
The way it was then. And so, you know, you had to make sure that your batteries were all running well, had to check fluid level, add fluid to them. You know, lead acid batteries, you had to be careful when you're doing it, you know, wear eye protection, wear gloves. And you had to swap out, you had the expense of swapping out the batteries every 6 years if you took real good care of them.
Wow.
And so even, you know, what I'd say cheap golf cart batteries replacing 12, not cheap.
And you know what we do with the virtual power plant batteries, right?
You just swap them out for your customer, don't you? No
Yeah.
cost?
No cost.
Where were you when I needed you?
How often do you have to?
So how long did you have to? How long did the maintenance take every month? How often did you have to do it? How much did like the batteries cost? And then how long did that set of batteries last if you did that maintenance all perfectly?
I wanted to say that I needed, it would have been wise for me to go out there every week and look at the water level on those batteries. So each one of these batteries, you know, has 6 caps on them, each one. And you open up the cap, you look inside, you see how much water is in it. So we're talking 6 caps per battery, 12 batteries.
And you had to shut the electricity off to the house to do that, right?
Yes, yeah, shut the system down. And add water if you needed to. They have these instruments to, you know, to check the amount of, you know, the ratio of lead and acid to them too. It was something that I never looked forward to.
Yeah.
And yeah, it definitely the weak link, the unpleasant part of you know, putting in your own system. I want to say you know, I'm a pretty frugal person and look for the best deals, you know. I think the cheapest I ever, you know, like I say, I had to replace those batteries 3 times while I had them. I think the cheapest that I ever got them was for around $1,200 to $1,400.
Okay.
And, you know, maybe up to $2,400.
Wow.
You had to have some money to swap them out.
Yeah. And then go through that same thing with the generators. Like, what was the maintenance required on generators? How much did it cost to replace them? How long did each one last?
Well, you know, the generators, mine wasn't hooked to a inverter or any type of system that turned on the generator itself. It was all self-monitoring. So anytime you did feel like you needed to, you know, charge the batteries or supercharge the batteries, you had to go out there and, you know, check the oil. Oil changes were something that you had to do. Yeah. You know, you got air filters and fuel filters and, you know, all the typical things you would have with a gasoline engine or a diesel engine or even a propane engine. And so, you know, you go out there and check the oil and check the hours on it, you know, to see if you need to change the oil. I think those things, my engine was supposed to get a oil change every 50 hours it ran. Fortunately, mine was an electric start. I didn't have to crank it, but, you know, hope the electric starter worked.
Yeah, even some, that hasn't improved much with generators, honestly. Like, there are some now where every 20 or 30 hours of runtime, it's expected to have an oil change. How many times did you have to replace them? Sorry, how much did it cost to fill them for gas?
Again, you know, my engine, my Honda gasoline engine was 1 gallon, so gosh, I don't even remember what gasoline cost. I originally had it set up with my propane tank. I mean, I had a 1,000-gallon propane tank, and I also used it for, you know, things in the house, the instantaneous hot water heater, propane stove. Yeah. Those were the biggies. But that's very expensive. Yeah. You know, so most of I can't really necessarily equate that with the generator. Right. It would have been cheaper to run than the gasoline or diesel, yeah, for sure. But when you had to fill up that propane tank, it wasn't cheap either.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, should we let our talent get some tacos? What happened whenever you would be gone and there would be a power outage and we had to work with the generator?
Yeah, that is a great question. That is, I would say, another flaw in the system, because I would think, certainly in my case, you know, I was the one who took care of it all the time. I was the one who was associated with how it was set up and its tendencies, you know, little things you had to do to get it to work just right. You know, once we started our engine, you know, I had to manually control you know, how many volts it was sending to the batteries, and you had to adjust the throttle, adjust the voltage. You know, you had to tweak it just right. And of course, I was the one who always did that.
Right.
And but inevitably, something would need to be done when I was out of town, and you know, you'd get a phone call. You know, how do I do this? And then you have to explain to them on the phone, or try to, you know, this multi-step process of getting power to your batteries so you can have power in your house. And it honestly was, yeah, that was a problem.
Wow. Well, thank you for your time today.
It's
Dad.
my pleasure. Go VPP Texas.
That's all right.